And hello, everybody. We're going to say good evening because it's a slightly different setup than we normally have. Hi, Olga Lautman, the incredible creator of the Trump Tyranny Tracker, who's also enjoying her. Is it almost a week that you've had your smoking cessation going on?
10 days.
10 days. Oh, wow. How's it going?
It is going. I went from over a pack to now I'm like literally down to my last 3 cigarettes. So I should be done by tomorrow, after tomorrow,
Wow. Well, good for you.
permanently.
Permanently, you'll be done. No more cigarettes at all.
Nope, never. No
Well,
more.
congratulations. It's great that you've achieved
Thank
this
you.
milestone. There's so much going on in the news, and we've got a limited time here. So let me jump right into it. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court will hear arguments on a Section 2 case that could fundamentally alter the balance of power between the executive and the legislative branches. The case centers on whether Congress can enforce constitutional limitations on presidential authority, or whether the executive branch can operate beyond legislative oversight. Really, what we're talking about is about the case involving the limitations um, on 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 whether the GOP can eliminate some seats in their mostly Republican states that are currently being served by the Black Congressional Caucus, and in that way gerrymander those seats, and that looks like the conservative part of the Supreme Court is going to approve that. This is fundamentally altering America.
It really is. And I mean, this one is going to be the final nail in the coffin of the, Voting Rights Act. Two, this can potentially give Republicans up to 19 seats. So this is something, again, this is not guaranteed seats, just like with their mid-decade gerrymandering. It's not guaranteed because at the end of the day, people can mobilize and make sure that they go and vote and and not elect Republicans. But Republicans are doing everything, a year out to secure the House, which frankly, I mean, you see what this House is now. I mean, they haven't been in session over a month.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it because, contrary to what Mike Johnson wants you to believe, shutting down the House and sending people on over a month vacation has absolutely nothing to do with the government shutdown. He
It is
can still function and carry out the duties of, the House. And I mean, this is what taxpayers are paying for. So
It's a very good point. This is really a taxpayer-funded vacation for all these people who should be working, doing the people's business, but instead they're grandstanding and saying that they don't have an option, that they can't go to work because of the other party,
of
and
course they can.
each side is blaming each other. Meanwhile, they could all go to work and try to figure out a way out of this because that's their job, is to make government run. But they're not willing to do that. They're not willing to back down on either side.
But it has nothing to do with either side in this case either, because he can bring the House back into session and just do the people's business, and just not touch the government shutdown
Mhm.
agenda.
Right.
He hasn't sworn in a elected representative from Arizona.
Yeah.
It's been over a month. There are things to do. I mean, there are other bills to work on, and so even irrespective of the shutdown, say he has whatever his ridiculous point that we don't want to, bring. We did our job with the shutdown, and we passed our whatever dirty CR. That still has nothing to do with shutting down the House.
Right.
And they can have a million other things to do besides dealing with the shutdown. And he really sent everyone on a 5-week vacation. We don't know what they're doing besides going on podcasts and tweeting all day. And that's it. And it's incredible because this has never happened during a shutdown that any branch of the Congress, just shuts down, like closes House. The only time we had the House shut down, the one time that I remember, is when there was no speaker
Mhm.
because the Republicans
Couldn't
fired
get one.
their speaker and
Yeah.
then had to figure out for over a month, to find a new speaker.
This might go on all the way to the new year, which will probably suit Donald Trump quite well because he's planning this assault on these elections next year. You know, it's not only the gerrymandering that's going on. There's all sorts of campaigns, including a potential for them calling a national emergency to really change the way the next elections are going to take place. Those things are happening, you know, at a breakneck speed. We're discovering that that campaign is really working, and really, there's no other reason for him to call the House back or to want the House back because he can also use this interim to go to war or do any other things that he might not be able to otherwise do when the House is in session.
Yeah, and but I mean, you still have the Senate in session, and you have even quite a few Republicans who are raising noise about, for instance, his Venezuela strikes, trying to get information, being sidelined by the Pentagon, which is also unprecedented. You know, both Republicans and Democrats are sending the Pentagon, you know, a request for information on what in the hell they're doing, and both are receiving the same response, which is nothing. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I mean, Trump couldn't care less about the government being open, but the bottom line is that really people, you know, need to call Mike Johnson and the rest of their Republican representatives and tell them to get off vacation. Where else does someone get a 5 week plus and counting vacation while they are getting paid? And at the same time, we have scenes of our federal workers, military families standing hours at the food bank.
I remember there was a protest a few years ago by the government union in order to get people back together outside Capitol Hill. And I'm surprised we haven't seen that kind of protest yet, where people are saying, you know, get back to work. You can't leave until you figured out a deal. No one seems to be protesting. They're just sort of letting them have this vacation, as you point out. It's very disturbing. Staying with voting and voting rights, and we'll get to the Venezuela story as well. The Department of Justice announced plans to send federal election observers to California and New Jersey following requests from state Republican parties. These monitors will target several heavily Democratic counties ahead of the key November elections. This represents an inversion of traditional DOJ election monitoring, which historically focused on areas with documented voter suppression rather than areas requested by political parties. But this is a real change that's going on here.
Yeah, and this is an intimidation tactic because, I mean, the fact that you have the Department of Justice, which used to be independent, sending election monitors to, you know, monitor Democratic precincts where it's heavily Democratic is absurd. And I mean, something we really need to push back on because they are testing it to see how it will go, whether they, you know, will be able to suppress voters from coming out because of the intimidation. So we really, this is something we need to push back. Again, I say there's, you know, how many, 330 million people in this
Yeah.
country, over 180 million who are registered to vote. We have the power as long as we organize.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was listening to an interview with Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, who was describing how people in Chicago are actually feeling very intimidated by the ICE presence and the National Guard presence now. And he is, you know, saying people are just staying at home. They're not going out. They're not doing anything. They're being quite intimidated by all this military presence. I wonder if all of it will have a chill on those election results on next week, and whether people are going to show up.
I mean, it's California and New Jersey. People are, you know, pretty feisty.
Yeah.
The National Guard is not going to stop. I mean, New Jersey's right, you know, 15 minutes from me. I spend a lot of time there. It's not really going to push back people, but they're, you know, they're doing this for the intimidation, just as they're doing, you know, sending the National Guard. Trump is threatening to send now other battalions like
Mhm.
Marines, you know, to other states. This is all for intimidation purposes. And I mean, poor Chicago, they're literally, I mean, they gassed a parade, a kids' parade, a
Unbelievable.
Halloween parade. I mean, they're gassing near schools. You have kids choking, you know. So I mean, yeah, you know, it's not even as intimidation as, you know, infuriating that you have these federal forces. Again, people need to remember that we're paying for this. You know, this is
Absolutely.
not like not falling out of the sky, the money. This is our money, and we are paying, you know, for these agencies and these units to be hijacked by this regime to turn it against the people. And we need to, I will, repeat it over and over. We need to organize and we need to strategically push back. And that's it. And, if anything, in Chicago, people should be more angry
Mm.
of the fact that their children can't even go to school without getting tear gassed or
Absolutely.
parade.
It's a really difficult situation they're facing, and it's going to get much worse as he promises to deploy in every American city. Moving to the Pentagon now, U.S. military officials involved in Trump's escalating operations in Latin America have been required to sign non disclosure agreements, NDAs. It's an unprecedented move that conceals details of a buildup involving aircraft carriers, fighter jets, and thousands of troops. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has simultaneously restricted staff contact with Congress and revoked press access for journalists covering the Pentagon. We really are seeing a blackout here and within the framework of them planning for a war.
Yeah, and you know what is interesting in out of all of this, that Republicans who completely are spineless, and the majority of them are on board with Trump and will do anything if he tells them to go eat dog food off the ground. They'll run.
Probably would, yeah.
They would push each other to get there first. But with Venezuela, they're actually pushing back, and you have several high-ranking Senate. Again, the House is on vacation, but you have several high-ranking Senate Republicans who are pushing back, who are demanding hearings, and who are demanding information from the White House, from the Pentagon, in order, to figure out what in the hell is happening, whether this is even legal, because I mean, personally, I don't think it's legal. You can't just go today. We assassinated another, 15 or 14 people on 4 boats. You can't just go and kill people in international waters or anywhere. And clearly, Trump is escalating because he's preparing for a land invasion, and even more so, whatever you think. I mean, I can't stand Maduro, frankly. I'd love to see his regime go,
Absolutely.
but we need answers. What kind of mission is this? How many Americans will be involved? How long is this mission? Is this going to be another Afghanistan or Iraq? How much is this going to cost? Or, we need answers. I mean, this is something the American people deserve before they send their husbands and children off to war again.
Yeah, by all
And
accounts, this is going
Venezuela is
to
like Afghanistan. I mean,
yeah,
if
it's gonna be
anyone
a
thinks Venezuela,
quagmire. It's gonna be a quagmire. They've got all sorts of, million people on reserve there in their armed forces. They've got an incredibly sophisticated defense system for Latin America that's based on the Russian system. They've got a lot of equipment, and they've been doing nothing but preparing for this for a long time. Plus, they're very good at fighting in those conditions, and it's not necessarily the best conditions for our troops to be fighting in. Even though a lot of this will entail, as some people are suggesting, a mammoth airstrike campaign right at the beginning to really knock out everything that the military has and the regime. And this is a regime change operation. This is not one of those, we're going to go to war to convince them to do something. We're going to go to war to get rid of this guy. That's a huge investment, and also potentially a complete regional conflict that could involve other nations. Colombia, could be Cuba, could be anybody at the end of the day.
first off, Venezuela has not only the Venezuelan military and special forces, they also have Cuban military who is propping them up. They have cartels, that have their own operations. They have mercenaries. All their equipment is Russian. Everything, all their military equipment. So the fact you can, bomb the hell out of it, but that's not going to get you anything, because if you want true regime change, you still need to go inside, and put boots on the ground. And then once you put boots on the ground, you might end up with having Americans taken hostage. I mean, Venezuelans, especially the cartels, I mean, they have no problem skinning someone, on live TV, or sending body parts back. I mean, this is how they operate. And then, of course, you have Colombia next door that Trump is also starting with. He already sanctioned the Colombian president and the wife and the children. All because the Colombian president said something, pushed back a little bit at the UN. so,
Because these citizens are
so
getting bombed out of the water by by these airstrikes. I mean, it's insane. He complained about that, which is so legitimate. And what does he get? A response from Donald Trump saying, I'm gonna sanction you and your family. It's quite something when you realize that that's what they're up to. Let's move to our
Yep.
final story today, which is court records reveal that ICE and the FBI obtained, Con Edison customer data, but the utility refused to confirm whether warrants or court orders were required. The company's silence follows revelations that agents conducted searches of its data systems. This creates a troubling precedent where essential services like electricity, water, or gas become surveillance tools. This is really an interesting development in the immigration crackdown that's happening, and really opposing normal human rights. I mean, with this, we're not allowing people to live at all under these circumstances.
And this really hits home because Con Edison is my shitty provider.
Mm,
Not only did they raise electric prices that I have never seen anything like it. I mean, in July at peak, I was paying what, $845 was my just electric bill.
wow,
From last year it was 600 something, which I thought was insane from last July. So, I mean, they've continued to raise the prices 20, 30%. I mean, and then on top of it, here they seem to be cooperating with federal agencies and acting as a surveillance tool for them. Giving information over of their customers to ICE and Department of Homeland Security and possibly Border Patrol and who else. And the bottom line is, why in the hell is a utility company that sucks to begin with? I mean, like I said, the way they have increased prices here, that they're really pricing everyone out of New York. And why are they cooperating with federal authorities? It's one thing if you hand information on one person because there's a potential criminal investigation or whatever. But I mean, this doesn't seem to be what's happening here. They seem to be giving bulk data, and that's it. So if you're in New York or if you have Con Edison, call them and I'll find out because I definitely will be doing that.
it sounds incredible that they're actually like getting rid of their own customers. They're reporting their own customers so they could lose those customers. So ICE can deport these people. I mean, it seems so counterproductive and so counterintuitive to what customer service used to be all about. Now we need,
Really,
yeah,
this is, I mean, but this is what happens when you have a monopoly. I mean, our only choice is
right.
Con Edison. This is the only way we can get electric. And you have this monopoly, and, the fact that they are cooperating again. Today, it might be on immigrants. Tomorrow, it could be on anybody who speaks out against the regime. And trust me, New York is not a Trump friendly place. They could be handing over records on any of us. And it's
Absolutely.
absurd. I mean, it's absurd. It's a freaking electric company. Their one job is to keep electric on, lower the prices,
It
and
sounds
that's it. None.
Sorry, guys, I'm interrupted. It sounds like the Chinese social credit system, where they block off your ability to gain utilities or to travel or whatever, depending on what it is you're doing that might upset them at any given time. One quick last
Yep.
story, I forgot about this one. Trump urged all 6 members of the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts, an independent body overseeing federal design, just as it was preparing to review his $300 million White House ballroom and triumphal arch, or arc, I should say. The Biden appointed commissioners were dismissed by email and will be replaced with loyalists, eliminating oversight barriers to projects that glorify Trump's presidency while he remains in office. Well, the march to authoritarianism continues, all about building monuments. It's so in line with all of that.
Absolutely. And here you have, the one uh, predictive factor to this regime. Anyone who's in his way, he just purges. So here you have, this oversight committee that's supposed to review plans for his ballroom after he demolished the people's house without getting absolutely any approval. Asking Americans, do you mind if we demolish part of the White House? And on top of it, I mean, with this ballroom, not only did we have like every major corporation donating to this ballroom, but also Trump said that, he's more than happy to take anonymous donations. So you could imagine what this is going to be. This is going to be another crypto slash, how you call it, pay for play scheme, where you have foreign countries who will just, put money in to, and this is another avenue to say, oh yeah, I'm donating to Ballroom.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, it's, for their foreign policies, or to buy missiles, or to buy chips, as
yeah.
in Qatar, and whatever. So I mean,
By
the whole thing is
influence, yeah.
absurd.
I actually think it would, and I've never said this out loud, but I think this is just the start of what is going to be a complete overhaul of the White House into a palace. And what you're looking at, the scale of that first wing that they're renovating is going to be that big all the way across. That they're going to build, another 90,000 feet on the other side where the West Wing is, and God knows what they're going to put in the middle. But judging by his appreciation for gaudy Russian architecture, it's going to look a little bit like that, I suspect.
Like Mar-a-Lago will be a
Yeah,
copy of
yeah,
Mar-a-Lago.
but more
Um,
more ostentatious, probably a little bit more palatial, as it were. But really, unbelievable that they're doing it with now firing all the commissioners. People just don't have a say anymore. It might seem like nothing right now, but it's going to creep into your lives. It's going to creep into your workplace. It's going to creep into your futures, into your children's futures. This is the way the world is going to be if we allow it to continue. That is the Trump Tyranny Tracker for today. Olga, you've got a fantastic piece on us on unmasking Russia that came out this morning, I think, if I'm not mistaken, about 2016. Tell us what's in that piece and where people can find it. It was yesterday.
Oh, so yeah, it's part of the 2016 election series that Julie Roginski and I are doing. This chapter, we're now up to, I believe, chapter 15. We focus on Manafort, Russia's inside man, and pretty much lay out all his work that he carried out for the Kremlin before becoming a free campaign manager for Trump, and, really working with Russia's military intelligence to hand voter data over. So yeah, so check it out. It's on Unmasking Russia, my other blog, and also next Thursday, I am launching a new series on Russia and propping up the global far right. So stay
Oh,
tuned
sounds
for
good. That'll
that.
be really exciting. Unmasking Russia is deserving its place on the top rising Substack charts today for that very reason. So everyone should please check out this great piece by Julie and Olga on unmasking Russia at narrative.org. There's a new show I just did yesterday that everyone should be checking out about the plot to steal the 2026 elections. It goes through every single detail of one of the big plan to take over the 2026 election, how they're running, and also to gerrymander everything. It's a really good interview on that. So check that out on my site. Plus, there's a new Greatest Heist chapter coming out soon, which will blow your mind. So that's my tease, but it's not ready yet, but it's coming in the next few days. Thanks for watching the Trump Tyranny Tracker today. Thank you for being here, Olga. And I'm sorry, a little late because of the technical issues. I'll figure this out one day. It's only been 281 days.
We're good. We're good.
All right. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Thanks very much. Have a good night,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Bye.